familiar faces. And I'll try and take the challenge of trying to be as brief as possible and then open the floor for a bit of questions and sticking with the limitation of time. If I carry on from where the previous two speakers have left us with, when I took upon myself the role in July, and prior to that when I started hosting groups, I was under the feeling that we all know the saying that if you carry on doing the same thing, don't expect a different result. How can we try and create a different reality? How can we address the issue slightly different to achieve a slightly different answer? I don't have the answers. The reason that we thought of sitting today together is to try and start a process of brainstorming as to how we can do things differently to create a different reality. I will give you 3 very short stories which will lead me to where I stand and what we think we need to do, and then I'll open the floor for questions. Number 1, and for those of you who have been following the groups that come to Efrat, I don't say no to any group from any organization, and it doesn't matter what their background is. I've even hosted in my house a delegation of J Street, fed them supper, and at the end of the day felt very frustrated that they came brainwashed and they completed and listened to a word that we said to them. But we're taking the opportunity and opening the floor to whoever is willing to come, because maybe we're managing to find a crack. Amongst those delegations, we had about half a year ago a delegation of what was V15 and today is Dalkano, and they came after the elections, after they lost what they tried to do in the elections, and they said to me, we want to come and shoot at you our arguments, see what's your response, and then we'll do fine-tuning for our next campaign. Now, because you understand from my bio that I have plenty of time and I don't have anything else to do and I'm very bored, I said, be my guests. And we hosted them in Efrat. But we were prepared for that meeting, and we brought a neighbor from Wadi Nis, which I won't tell you the whole story of what happened during that day, but he said to them one sentence that made them, not being able to walk in a straight line, find their cars at the end of the day. And he said to them the following thing. He said to them, you Israelis, your democracy has put behind bars a prime minister and a president. Our president has put behind bars democracy. V15, hearing that from a Palestinian, they did not know where to put themselves. It was one sentence, it wasn't pre-planned, it was completely genuine. Some of us might think that his statement is extremely challenging for us because it means that he wants a one-state solution with equal rights, which we know that we don't have all the answers to. And I would be very happy to know what's the government's final plan or what's their strategic plan that we can all join and advocate. But I think one of our problems is that we're all confused and we don't know where we want to lead. That's why a lot of the time we're focusing in the past and we don't know what to say that we want will happen in the future. And yes, you were right. People want to know what's the plan for the future. What can we promise for creating a different reality? And this brings me to the second story. The second story, and again, for those of you who have been following my Facebook page, you should have been able to see, on every festival that the Muslims have, we go and visit our Muslim neighbors. That's no original thing. And 3 months ago, we went to the village, and it was during the week that we had 2 families mourning over the death of their killing of their beloved ones, Halel in Kiryat Arba, and Mark family in Otniel. And 2 days later, I need to go into a festive meal into my neighbor's house. And I come to them and I say to them, listen, this is a difficult time for me to come and celebrate with you because I've got families in my community sitting in mourning over slaughtering a daughter, over killing a father when his kids are sitting in the back row. And they tell me, listen, we are against violence, and we want peace, etc., etc., etc. I said, that's a bit too little and a bit too quiet, and nobody's hearing you. So they said to me, well, we're starting to speak out on Facebook, we're starting to spread out the word, we're starting to become braver. The following day, I come to my office, I open the computer, and I see that on Facebook, they've actually put up pictures from the visit yesterday, saying, yeah, Efrat Meir came and visited us and said to us, Chag Sameach. As far as I was concerned, that was crossing a line that they have never done before, because they were publicly willing to admit that they have a relationship with their neighbors. Yeah. On Facebook, not hiding anything. And the third incident happened about 8 days ago, 10 days ago. Last Motzei Shabbat, unfortunately, Shabbat goes out, a driver comes out of Efrat and run over a girl, 6-year-old, kills her on the spot, while her twin sister saw the whole incident happening, and it so happened that she was a Palestinian girl living literally 100 yards out of Efrat. What do you do with such an incident? The city of El-Khadr declared that she was a shaheed. Go and explain that it was an innocent traffic accident. Okay. So I decided to go and pay a shiva call to this Palestinian family who is sitting over the killing of their daughter. And I come to the morning's house. Within 30 seconds, a big black car comes, and out of it comes the new mayor of El-Khadr. I've never met him before. And after we do all the polite different things, he starts addressing a list of requirements that he wants me to help him with the civil administration. One of them, help me get 2 road bumps out of this house so the twin sister won't be killed the next time. Now, if you want to know what I can promise for the future, I don't know if I can advocate a 2-state solution or a 1-state solution. I can argue whichever one I believe. But if I want to help the government and if I want to help this country for a better future, what I'm conveying a message is let's try and build as many bridges as possible. That's something that each and every one of us can show on the local level of different examples. That's something that it doesn't matter which group comes, when they see these bridges, whether it's the water tank that supplies water to the Arab villages, whether it's medical doctors who come and supply medical treatment for Palestinians, whether it's helping in taking out the snow or dealing with the sewage or providing road bumps. That's something that people can affiliate, and that's where we, I think, can create a change. How to do it? There are endless platforms. Where to do it? There are endless addresses. At the end of the day, the budget is limited, not just because of the decision of the government, it's because we're all lacking funds. Some of us are volunteers. Some of us don't get paid for what they do. But we need to find the most effective way to convey the message as strongly as possible, as widely as possible. And as far as I'm concerned, because the tours, the trips, the personal impact has been proven to be the most successful and the most meaningful one, so let's try and see how we can spread out as many personal stories as possible. Let's confuse them with the facts. As one journalist told me, too many facts kill a good story. That's our goal, to spread as many facts as possible, and it doesn't matter which approach we take. We can take the biblical approach, we can take the practical approach, and it's relevant not just for Judea and Samaria. Because people who come and criticize me that I'm an advocate for coexistence, they fail to address the issue that amongst us within the smaller Israel, there are a few Arabs as well. And if we won't build a mechanism as to how we can live with them in the same community and in the same country, we will lose on both fronts, in the smaller Israel and in the wider Israel. And that's why it's a message that can be used and implemented throughout Israel, throughout the different groups that we're working with, and I hope that we'll succeed. Questions? No questions. Confused all of you.
Too many facts.
Too many facts. Okay, so I'll give you an example of confusing with the facts, okay? Abu Mazen came out with the accusations about us poisoning the waterways. I put out a piece in Times of Israel where I wrote the facts that I know about the water, what I've learned throughout my role as a mayor, what I have learned from Professor Wirtzman, and put it out. Within less than an hour, there were 400 shares. Not that I'm trying to promote my pieces, but it was relatively quite widely spread to what I'm used to. And all of a sudden, I receive a letter from a female rabbi, so I can only guess that she's either conservative or reform. And she says to me, what you wrote is completely revolutionary. I've never heard it before. And she lists 15 questions. What am I basing my arguments? Now, this is not an academic piece, okay? This is what I wrote. It's a blog. But she's asking me academic and legal questions to answer what did I base my writing on. As you heard, I'm doing a few more things besides writing blogs, so I didn't have time to answer. So I forwarded the email to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Needless to say, I know you're under budget cuts, so you are lacking manpower. I did not receive an answer up until today. I'm not criticizing, okay? But it showed where we have to step in. Because after 48 hours, if my office doesn't respond to an email, to a phone call, to a WhatsApp that we get, I can be fired. That's the standard that we try and keep. So I had to write the answer. And I wrote the answer based on what I know, did a bit of research, added a few articles, added a few academic researches. Needless to say, I didn't hear from her anymore. If she will, in the next sermon, in her temple, mention something slightly different, we've made a change. We've made an impact. We don't need to know all the answers. We don't need to have all the access to all the information. But we need to help spread it out. And there's a lot of confusion out there. There are a lot of misinformation. And we just need to spread out the facts. To spread out what we feel, what we see. And please God will be successful.
Oded, since you mentioned both coexistence and water virtually in the same breath, I do have a question. A number of years ago, I, in combination with Ariel and Ariel University, put together a group of State Department officials. I had where Avi is sitting right now, next to me, Dr. Kobi Anker, professor from Ariel University. On the other side of me, I had, right over here, Dr. Jawad Hassan, a professor of agronomy and hydrology from Al-Quds University. The two were prepared to cooperate in a water sewage treatment project for Salfit, which had nothing. Ariel had a very, very sophisticated water sewage treatment facility. Because of what we call TGLB, the Trans-Green Line boycott by USAID, by the US State Department, and because of the anti-normalization, let's say, approach of the Palestinian Authority.
The water pipe that will fill up the water tank in Ariel.
Right. So the two were willing to cooperate, but they ran into a roadblock down the road. What do you suggest to overcome these roadblocks?
First of all, it's an excellent example. And it's an example that we need to use to serve our purpose. Because just like they're not willing to lay down new roads because they only support the settlements, they're not willing to lay down water pipes because they're only supporting the settlements. They fail to see that the shortage of water in Samaria can be resolved by the water tank, which was built already in Ariel, but we're not managing to put down the water pipe because, God forbid, we need to take some Jewish land and also some Arab land. That's an excellent example. It's an example of how both populations are going to suffer because people who are observing and monitoring us through a satellite dish don't understand that they're human beings who are thirsty down on earth, and it can be resolved. If we take that story and project it, it's a win-win situation, because those who say, don't cooperate, don't strengthen the settlements, don't have an answer, because in the same argument of theirs, they're also deteriorating the situation of the Palestinians.
Right.
It's an excellent example. The roads are the same. Medical treatment is the same. Sewage is the same. Now, when I speak with the Palestinians, not their official electeds, okay, now I'm going a higher level because the mayors have all of a sudden become brave enough to come and address me. They're all saying, just let us live. Let us have access to work. Let us have running water. Now here again, I'm not telling any secret because I've published it as well. I went out to the head of the civil administration. I had a meeting with the General Yoav Poli Mordechai, and I told him, listen, the initiative of the Minister of Defense of carrots and sticks, if that's how you say it in English, maklot v'gzarim, I said it's an excellent policy, okay, despite what some of my peers said. I said it's just lacking one thing, it's lacking the other 50%. Have the same approach to the Yeshvut. If you have a place that doesn't have Tag Mechir, if you have a place that's building according to building permits, support them. Show that it's worthwhile cooperating with the government instead of fighting with the government. But why did I go to them? Because I said to them, listen, you can use us as multiplying the effect. Example, there are some illegal buildings in Wadi Nis. We all know nobody is going to demolish it. Nobody is dealing with it. Okay? I said to him, take 2 houses and say that you're erasing the orders of the demolishing. Allow me to come to the head of Wadi Nis and tell him that these 2 houses are going to stay. Can you imagine the impact? I sat last night with Aluf Pikud Merkaz. I told him, for me to bring 2 road bumps on that road will take me 5 years, and I won't be successful, because I can't, okay? He said to me, no problem. I can get it approved in 24 hours. I said, no problem. So bring it, allow me to go and tell the mayor of El Khader that I'm the one who brought him the 2 road bumps. That's a bridge. If we carry on finding those examples, we'll be in a different scenario. We'll have more and more voices within the Palestinian population speechless.